Are you looking for a space where you will learn to improve your mental strength, emotional health, and heal your insecurities from the inside out? Take the first step to living a more meaningful life with the Better Me with Body by Bree podcast. I'm your host, Bree. I'm a certified personal trainer, entrepreneur, and mother of 3. I've helped empower thousands of women to take action through fitness, nutrition, meditation, personal development, and aligning thoughts with action. This podcast is for those who are ready to feel inspired and motivated to live a more purposeful life. Let's grow together. Welcome to the podcast. Have you ever wondered why you look at food the way you do? Why are you prone to certain eating patterns or disorders? Why do you think certain thoughts when you look at yourself in the mirror? In today's episode, I go through each of the 9 Enneagram personality types and explain their emotional eating patterns, food orientation, and body judgment. I could not believe what a difference it made for me to understand my own personality type so that I can be aware of why I have certain thoughts around food and my body, and now I have the tools to have it work in my favor. I'm excited for you to learn in this episode. Let's get started. Hi friends, today's podcast is going to blow your mind. It was such a fun one to research because I'm fascinated with personality types and how they see the world, as well as how it views diets and fitness and body image. And as a personal trainer and nutrition fitness specialist, I've worked with thousands of clients and I've seen these patterns over and over. This knowledge has equipped me with tools to help my clients according to their specific personality types. So this is how healthy lifestyle choices stick, and this is how they become long-term changes. So if you haven't taken your Enneagram test online, I suggest the Truity Enneagram test, and I want you to take that test and then listen to the rest of the podcast so that you know what number you are, because it will be a lot more helpful for you. I'm going to highlight each number and I will give a brief overview of the core values and weaknesses of each of the numbers, and then I'll move into their emotional eating patterns, food orientation, and body judgments. So I will put that link in the show notes for you. And I'm also just going to give a brief overview, but if you do want to dive deeper into your specific Enneagram type, I would suggest checking out the website dietgnosis.com, and I will link that website in my show notes as well. So let's get started. All right, like I said, there are 9 types. So type 1 is principled, self-control, and reforming, but can also be perfectionistic and judgmental. So type 1s have a fear of being bad or wrong, and they fear that they will fail to do the right thing. So perfectionism in a type 1 can become a problem because they tend to set the bar so high that they'll become discouraged. And when they don't meet their expectations, they attack themselves with this negative self-talk that really undermines their fitness goals. So they compare reality to their inner standard of perfection. So they tend to have an all or nothing mentality. So if they're tracking macros, they are tracking to the T. But if they cheat, then they'll binge. And type 1s usually have a very high skill of self-control. So if they do want to do something, they usually will. That includes even suppressing their cravings. When it comes to body image, though, type 1s tend to pick themselves apart because of their kind of perfectionism mentality. They really do not like flaws on their body, and they will try to change it at all costs. So a healthy one will be able to realize that perfectionism isn't attainable, and they might have to do a lot of self-work on giving themselves a little bit more grace. Now, type 2 is giving, empathetic, sociable, but can also be codependent, self-sacrificing, and prideful. So type 2s, food can be seen as a symbol of love. So they see food as a direct physical way to express love or to nurture or to connect with people. So 2s usually will become really good cooks or bakers, and they give their home cooked foods away as gifts. But 2s who feel underappreciated will attempt to nurture themselves with comfort foods, and they can be prone to binging behaviors when they're feeling underappreciated. Food is also used as a way to satisfy or fill like their emotional emptiness around being unhappy or feeling underappreciated. And so that's where food can become their emotional medicine. And so knowing these habits really is the first step to moving towards a healthy eating pattern. Now, in terms of how they judge their bodies, is that they tend to not be focused so much on their bodies. They judge them on their ability to serve others. So they can tend to like downplay the importance of physical appearance because they'll always be able to help people in some way, no matter what they look like. Now, type 3. Type 3s are adaptable, driven, efficient, charismatic, but they can be status seeking, image conscious, and compromising. So 3s can look at food pretty objectively. They tend to practice self control a lot, and they don't really have a big emotional tie to food. They will eat with a goal in mind of a weight or an appearance. And if a 3 is unhealthy, it usually includes anorexia or bigorexia. If you guys haven't heard of what bigorexia is, it's actually like the guy version of extreme body image control. So they might like, for example, bodybuilders who just want to be bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it becomes an obsession to them. Type 3s are prone to that because they really want to look good. So if a type 3 is overweight, then usually it's because that it's like low on their priority list because it won't affect their career. So they just won't care about it. But 3s will emotionally eat. So like they don't really emotionally eat. It's more that they will withhold food when they feel like they're not meeting up to the standard that they've set for themselves. So that's why anorexia tends to be with 3s. Because they have such high expectations for themselves. And in terms of body judgment, 3s are overly harsh. They're constantly comparing themselves to others, and they feel the need to improve their bodies at any cost. They're very aware of their physical appearance because they really want to make a good impression. Type 4. Type 4s is expressive, artistic, authentic, but they can also be sensitive, depressed, entitled, and self-absorbed. So type 4s think about their feelings. They really hold on to them and they choose how they want to express them. And when it comes to food, they like to be unique. So they might change their eating habits or their palate. It will change a lot depending on their mood. Like, oh, I only eat Godiva chocolate, or they might like, I only eat this certain kind of brand, or I only eat organic. So they like to be different. Type 4s eat emotionally when they feel insignificant or common, unauthentic, or uncreative. And when this happens, 4s might become more self-indulgent, like eating their favorite comfort foods or sleeping too much or kind of withdrawing into their home or wasting time. And as far as type 4's body image goes, it changes according to their moods. So they actually take pride in being different from other people, and they'll focus on how different they are. So they might be like, oh, I like that this part of my body is really different than the norm. Now, type 5. Type 5 is analytical, intellectual, perceptive, and independent, but they can also be stingy, detached, and eccentric. So type 5s are the thinkers. Type 5s really overexpress thinking a lot, and they put a lot of emphasis on their knowledge. They will oftentimes forget to eat, or they will snack on just really convenient food because they don't want to lose their train of thought. They might not eat regular meals, and instead they'll eat at these really weird, unscheduled times. And they can be nutritionally deficient because they don't take the time to actually fix a healthy meal. It's just really not important to them. 5s tend to collect knowledge about a topic to increase their self-esteem. So they have a hard time taking care of themselves. 5s are more inclined to drink like caffeine or mental stimulants, and then they'll snack on sugar to get a quick mental boost. Now, when judging their bodies, they're pretty objective. They actually are pretty detached and analytical because their focus is on their brain and how smart they are. It's not really on their body. They tend to rely very little on their body for their accomplishments. Type 6, they are loyal and diligent and stabilizing, but they can also be suspicious, paralyzed, and reactionary. So 6s usually need others to validate their decisions, and they tend to stick to their favorite foods, and they don't want to explore other ways of other ways of eating. So 6s like to eat on schedule, and they will eat because it's eating time. They like predictability, and sometimes they might even overeat to clear their plate because of money issues. Like they don't want to waste food. They don't want to waste money. They're more of like your meat and potatoes type of people. 6s might overeat when they don't feel secure in themselves, or they're feeling anxious and uncertain about the future, or if they have to make a big decision. 6s do not like to make big decisions. They're worriers at heart, so it's really important to recognize when they're what they're actually feeling is like, oh, I'm feeling worried, or I'm feeling anxious about the future, or I don't know if I should buy this house, and instead they'll mask it with food. So knowing that can really help you be like, oh wait, this is actually a trigger. This is what I'm feeling. I don't really need food. Type 6s tend to compare themselves to others in their group. So they worry that they don't fit in, or that their body will fail them in some way. And so body image can tend to be a source of anxiety in their lives. And physical exercise really, really helps to relieve the stress and to help boost confidence for 6s. All right, type 7, enthusiastic, fun-loving, and visionary. But they can also be claustrophobic, impulsive, and scattered. So I'm a type 7, and I thought it was super interesting to read about my personality type because it was pretty spot on. Type 7s usually want one of everything on the menu because they just want to try it all. They're kind of like a YOLO, they just don't want to miss out on fun. They want to eat all the fun foods, and they easily feel deprived, and they have a hard time accepting healthy choices if they're less tasty. So they just really do not want to miss out. 7s tend to eat mindlessly when they're feeling deprived or bored. They like to distract themselves when they're feeling stressed, so food can sometimes become an excitement for them. And it can happen when things quiet down, like at the end of the day, when their minds are not distracted by other things. Then they can drift into thoughts of future meal plans or exciting places and the meals that they'll have there. And type 7's weaknesses and negative tendencies are that they're constantly avoiding pain, frustration, boredom, or anything that limits them in their lives. So they really have trouble with becoming bored very quickly because if they start to feel trapped or claustrophobic. So when it comes to body image, 7s are actually pretty lenient with how they see themselves. They don't want to be weighed down with negative thoughts, so they just justify, oh, it's fine. I look pretty good, whatever. And so they try to maintain this positive outlook through distractions and future planning. So if they're not happy with their body, then they might plan a trip, or they might try to go to dinner with friends and just distract themselves so they don't have to think about it. So for a 7, it would actually help to write down what you want and walk yourself through why you are not missing out. And it's okay to be a little bored with food if it gets you to your goal. You can still have fun at the party even if you're not eating the fun foods. That's what my internal dialogue is every day. Seriously, it's bad. Okay, so type 8s, they are powerful, passionate, and they're true leaders. But they can also be domineering, vengeful, manipulating, and excessive. So type 8s have a really strong, lustful craving regarding food. And they kind of are prone to overindulging themselves as temptations come and go. So with type 8s, if they feel weak or controlled by others or stuck in a situation that they can't control, then they'll tend to overeat, or they eat mindlessly as their way to cope. Type 8s really do not like to be told what to do. They're kind of like the protector, so they really don't like to be vulnerable. So type 8s look at themselves in terms of strengths and weaknesses as far as their body goes and how they can relate to others. So they have really big extroverted personalities, and they'll let you know when they're really angry or upset about something. And their main fear is being controlled or being dependent on others. So it makes them constantly like they're assessing outside threats, and hiding their vulnerabilities. Type 9, this is the last one. Type 9 is easygoing, accepting, and reassuring, but they can also be unpassionate, compliant, and cowardly. So type 9s, I call them the peacemakers. Type 9s are kind of out of touch with their food instincts and their food impulses. So they're like unconsciously suppressing their feelings so that they can like maintain peace in their relationships, and they use food to go numb or escape from their anger and stress. So they tend to mindlessly eat and they're unable to recall what they ate throughout the day, because 9s choose, like, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll choose food in the group that other people like, and they might even start forgetting what they actually like just because they don't like to be different or have confrontation. They're just like the peacemakers. So they fear conflict and they seek harmony. So one way that they cope with the conflict is to eat. So the term food coma was made for type 9s because they'll eat to numb their feelings, which we just said. Now, they're really aware that they stand out among a crowd. So when they're looking at their body, they're kind of looking to be more like their environment. They just want to fit in. So they'll judge their bodies and how it affects like their short-term feelings of harmony. All right, I know that was a handful. That was a lot that I just gave you guys. A ton. I feel like I've been talking forever, but it's so interesting, and hopefully you guys know your number so this makes sense to you. And now that we've covered each Enneagram type, I want you to go back and listen to yours specifically and see how you can help yourself see ways to overcome your natural tendencies. I don't want this to feel like it's negative, but it kind of goes through your blind spots and like, hey, you overeat when you're feeling, insignificant, or when you're feeling bored, or so it really helps you to address those feelings like, oh, this is actually what I'm feeling. I'm actually not hungry. And like I said, for example, me being a 7, I never want to miss out on fun. I hate being bored with foods. So I can either find ways to make my favorite foods fit into my macros, or I can write down my end goal and why it's important for me to reach it, and know that it's okay to be a little uncomfortable. And it's okay to be a little bored with food to reach my goal. And I just feel it's really empowering to know how your personality works so that you can make it work for you, not against you. So hopefully this was helpful. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you have any comments, I would love for you to comment on the show notes. And I will see you back here next time. Thank you for joining us in today's episode. If you liked the content and want to hear more, remember to hit that subscribe button and write a review. As a small business owner, I appreciate it more than you know. If you are looking for a program to help with self-confidence, to lose weight, get in shape, and work on your mental, physical, and emotional health, check out my training programs on www.bodybybrie.com. My team and I help to hold you accountable through the Body by Brie app, where you log in to see all your workouts, custom meal plan made specifically for you and your needs, and communication through the messenger. You are never alone when you're on the Body by Brie training program. Click the link in the show notes to get more information on how to transform your life from the inside out.